AITA for giving away my grandparents' gift intended for my fiancé. Every year, my grandparents give $300 to their single grandchildren and $500 to their married grandchildren, along with a note that says to share with your spouse. When opening up our gifts this year, I noticed my cousin, who had recently married his gay boyfriend, only received $300 while my fiancé and I received $500. I handed $200s from my envelope to my cousin in front of everyone, which caused quite the scene. My family is very religious and refuse to accept gay marriage as legitimate. They refuse to acknowledge his husband as a member of our family and tell him he is going to hell unless he changes his lifestyle. I defended my decision by saying, "We're not married yet, and they are." I think there's been a mistake. Conversations quickly devolved, resulting in both my cousin and I leaving shortly after. My family insists it was not my money to give and my actions disrespected both my grandparents and my fiancé. My fiancé feels my family was welcoming her, and I rejected her in front of everyone. AITA update: cousin is taking us out tonight dinner with their $200. NTA, your family sucks. Anyways, you can just give $250 to your fiancé and say that you gave money from your half to your cousin. NTA, you framed it perfectly for making it fit into their gifting rules. They're just mad that you called out their bigotry. Keep up the good work. NTA, the money was a gift, so it was yours to do whatever you wanted with. You made a point to your family and stuck up for your cousin's relationship. Good for you. Maybe have a word with your fiancé to reiterate it wasn't a message for her. Info: did the resulting situation and early departure upset your cousin? Would he have preferred to fly under the radar and enjoy the festivities and deal with it later? If the answer to the question is no, it did not bother him, then NTA, that $500 was your money, to do whatever you want with. You can give it away, you can make a paper fan out of it, you can practice origami, you can spend it on anything. It was yours. And your family sounds like a bunch of bigots. No, more like they knew the day would be awkward and the situation was a perfect excuse to leave. AITA for calling the cops after my half-brother took my car while I was having dinner with family. I 23F have always been civil with my 19M half-brother. We were close as kids, but he started to have an attitude at 13 and pretty much stopped being nice and started messing with my things / making fun of me and doing pranks to annoy me / privacy was gone with him coming into my room and taking my things. Whenever I complained, my stepmom would normalize his behavior and make excuses. My dad never really grounded him and thought that talking to him will get him to behave better. I'm currently in college. I live in a rented apartment and have car to help me get to the university or other places. Car isn't expensive or fancy at all. I saved up for it 2 years ago. I decided to have Christmas dinner with my family. It's the perfect opportunity to be with family since I haven't seen my dad in a while. I arrived at my dad's house and left my purse and my keys on the kitchen island after my stepmom told me to help with dinner. My half-brother started talking about my car in the kitchen while my stepmom was listening and asked if he could take it for a couple of hours to hang out with friends. I politely told him no. He threw a fit and brought up how I needed to relax and not worry, but my answer was still the same. While we were sitting at the dinner table, my half-brother got up, washed his hands, and I thought he went outside. I got busy talking to my dad, and after I got up to wash my hands I noticed my car keys weren't there. I went outside to ask him and neither he nor my car were there. I lost it. I started calling his phone but he hung up on me several times. I was furious. I told my dad I'd call the police if he didn't come back with the car. My stepmom jumped to defend him and said I was being unreasonable to call the police. I called him one last time, then I called the police. My stepmom freaked out when my half-brother got picked up by the police. She told me to go explain the situation to the authorities, otherwise he'd spend the night in jail. But I refused, especially since I still hadn't got my car back. Stepmom yelled that I ruined dinner and that it was no big deal. He was going to return it after borrowing it from me, but he didn't really borrow it, and she heard me say no. I don't know what she told the police, but I didn't give permission to use the car. My stepmom's side of family family are mad at me for doing this to my brother and hinted that I don't consider him family. My dad's side of family sided with me, saying he deserved it. My dad said I overreacted and I shouldn't have called the police when he disappeared for 4 hours. Edit, he did not borrow it, but my stepmom said I let him borrow it, which is not true. Edit, just to clarify, I talked to the police about what happened and I learned later that my stepmom said that her son was allowed to borrow it and that it was a misunderstanding. I wasn't going to let her continue to lie, but my dad told me to back off and let it go. This really upset me. My half-brother wasn't even berated the way I was by the family. NTA, why doesn't your stepmother loan him her car if she thinks he's entitled to one? It's okay to have boundaries and enforce them up. Him being a half-brother is irrelevant. You do the same if a full brother stole your car. You chose where to draw the line, which is great, because I'm sure your brother will think twice before stealing your car again. Yes, why not take his parents' car? Assume they don't walk everywhere, although that may explain why they haven't had time to not raise a thief. NTA, he heard you say no. Your stepmother heard you say no. You were clear with your no that he wasn't going to take your car for a drive. The only course of action was to see you and call the police. He's old enough to know better and now needs to deal with the legal consequences of his actions. No, she lied and said that I actually did allow him to borrow it, and that really made me upset. Also, she started blaming me for this and told the family a different story. NTA, he borrowed your car. You borrowed his free time for the night. Fair trade. Exactly. I'm pretty much certain that he did not borrow it. For her to lie and say I let him borrow it and only called the cops because he wasn't picking up the phone is unacceptable. She badmouthed me to her entire family and they all berated me based on the story she told. Jeez. NTA at all. How can anyone consider it an overreaction? He literally stole your car after you told him you didn't want him to use it. Why didn't your parent/step-parent offer to let him use their car? This should be a moment to show him about responsibility and accountability, not to blame you for standing your ground. Your dad is really letting you down. Simply ask how he'd feel in a similar situation. My stepmom thought I ruined the night and overreacted because he just borrowed the car from me, even though I told him no right in front of her. My dad is indeed letting me down by how he reacted in this situation. All I wanted was to have a peaceful dinner with family, but my half-brother was being stubborn. AITA for getting a nurse fired over a shirt. I am a general surgeon and I very rarely get involved with nursing issues. I have also never made a formal complaint or really any complaint about a nurse before. We had a 7-year-old admitted in for abdominal pain about a week ago. I got called down to the ER to consult. When I got to the patient, I noticed there is no parent or guardian with the child and no one watching him. I asked the nurse assigned to his case where the parents is because I need to talk to them and have them sign consent forms since the child needs surgery. The nurse said the parent was in the parking lot and would call. I am thinking the parent is giving updates, not unreasonable. The mother arrives and I explain the procedure. The documents are signed, we are good to go. As I was leaving to go and schedule the OR, I hear the nurse telling the mother, okay, you need to leave now. I hard stop. Even with COVID restrictions, we were not restricting parents from the rooms. I inquired why she is not allowed, thinking there might be a reasonable explanation. The nurse said she is dressed inappropriately and needs to leave. I looked the mother up and down. She was dressed in pajamas, pants, a shirt that had text that said FKBH make money, not censored. If she dresses like that, she can't be here, the nurse exclaimed. I informed her she needs to find another case to be assigned to and the mother is absolutely allowed. The complaint I made to her supervisor got her fired. I feel like I did the right, but the nurses have been giving me some mean looks and seem to be distant and cold towards me, which is new to me. Am I actually the asshole in this and shouldn't have complained to her supervisor? NTA, keeping a mother away from a sick child is not appropriate. Just because the nurse didn't approve of the mom's clothing, she did not have the right to make her leave. Go sit in your car, Lamau. Pardon me if I'm wrong, but if she had to say something. Hey, personally I think your shirt may not be okay in this environment. Would you be able to turn it inside out in a bathroom or get a jacket? If nurse had time, or if not, I can try find you one. Like, come on. She was the nurse. She was stopping a parent bring with their child in hospital, meaning a 7-year-old was alone with no support because of words on a shirt? NTA for putting in a complaint. I'm guessing if she got fired over this then there were other problems. Came here to say this. This incident was probably the straw that broke the camel's back. Either that or she got an attitude when confronted about it. NTA, who didn't ask for her to be fired, and if her supervisor fired her after this one relatively small thing, I'm willing to bet there were other issues with her performance. It was wrong of her to try and make a mother leave her child in a hospital just because her short had a few naughty words. There are priorities, people. Definitely NTA, she was keeping a mother away from her 7-year-old child. Cause of clothing in hospitals and surgery can be stressful for an adult, let alone a child who can barely understand what's going on. That's not okay for a nurse to do. Made the right decision making a complaint to her supervisor, cause if this nurse is making this huge decision based on such a small thing as clothing, then what else does she do when no one is around to observe her actions? Also, you might have set the wheels in motion, but her supervisor fired her. I feel like a nurse would not get fired over one complaint and she did. I get the feeling there was more to it than just one complaint.